Oh, well, I've never done that. Look,
Let's
it's
call the
been
meeting to order.
extraordinary.
Let's call the meeting to order, Thursday, May 9th, Scituate Council on Aging. We're gonna have sort of a truncated meeting, a shorter meeting tonight, but just so everyone knows, I know Linda's got to get out here reasonably soon, and the major topic of agenda is probably what's on the horizon, but before we get started and go through our minutes and our meeting notes, why don't we all introduce ourselves? I'm J.D. Miller, Council on Aging Board.
Linda Hayes, Director of the Senior Center, Council on Aging.
Caitlin Coyle, Board Member.
Henry, Board Member.
Elms Walensky, Board Member.
Leslie James, Board Member.
Janice Desmond, Board Member.
And yes,
Yeah,
Janice, the other Janice is also probably not going to be here because her daughter's in a concert
Okay,
at the school.
okay,
Lucille has a wake.
okay. Well, why don't we, so we want to get through normal monthly stuff, probably, to address our upcoming town meeting, but I'd like everybody to take a quick look at the minutes from April.
Which I did, they were really great, Janice, very
And
good. And because I wasn't at this meeting, it was very helpful.
I spent probably the first 20 minutes of the meeting just listening, and then all of a sudden,
I hate that. Right.
your last tax tip question?
Actually,
That's last one.
for the seeds.
Does anyone have any edits, changes, comments on minutes? And or can I have a motion to accept?
motion to accept the minute.
And a second.
Second.
Thank you. So again, why don't we hop into Linda, and I think you're gonna go relatively quickly and or. Okay. Yeah,
Thank you, Dave. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm leaving early, and after missing the last meeting, because it was just a special thing that only was tonight, and I just had to do it. So, appreciate your accommodating me. And the director's report, you'll notice, gosh, it gets pretty lengthy towards the back with all the senior center stuff, so. Not like I haven't been here and still managing, but it feels like
It does.
I've just been doing the senior stuff.
It does.
However, I do have a brochure that's been in progress, and, you know, originally Susan Kelly is someone that, you know, some of you know as a volunteer, and she was sort of initiated it, and then the staff saw it, and it's been going through a few changes, and I had hoped, actually, I would have printed it up for everybody, but if you want to have any input, we can take a look at it next week, because I won't have it for town meeting, and in the end, I don't really think we need it. I mean, it's really, town meeting is about the senior center project. I don't think anyone's going to miss it, but it is something I've been wanting to have, just a general brochure. We have a transportation brochure, information that all of our new clients have to not only take, but read and sign off on, just having looked at the policies and procedures. And maybe that's something actually I should show you as well, and just in case you have any changes. We recently had an incident, and really we had to update and add yet one more bullet point for someone that we might need to address because of certain conduct. So also we've it's not new, it's a standards of independence and behavior that really should be here, and in fact, I put it in our shelving, as opposed to hanging one copy on the wall because it's pretty long. But it's just something, it's policies for how we expect people to be here and what our
It's okay.
guidelines would be for participation. So all of that said, that's probably something to look at, as an umbrella, as a board. But anyway, if you're interested, it's not quite ready for printing prime time, but almost done. Also, finally working on a couple of tax work-off positions, and honestly, we have more people now than ever because the assessor, opened it up to more, and in fact, the TA and the assessor allowed for us to raise the hourly value to 12 from 10, which is great.
That's
but
good.
Yet, I have fewer jobs than ever, since I've been covering it. So I've been distracted, but I also haven't had a lot of response from the places I usually go and provide for openings for these people. But anyway, I have a couple that just came up, and that's what I'll be working on next week for them. We did have our pickleball.
It's an important program.
It's an important program.
For a
Yes.
lot of different reasons, for financially, to get people involved in town
I feel like
stuff, to.
People are uptaking of the the workers because they don't feel like they have jobs that are readily.
Yes,
like,
it's a little bit
it's a
time.
matter
It's-
of ideas, coming up with something for them to do.
Sometimes, yeah. Which, even here, I have more than really we can manage well, but at the end, 100 hours. I mean, we can usually fill it.
Yeah,
But the other departments,
yeah,
not easily done. Space is an issue too.
Yeah. Right.
Space and if they
Right.
need, equipment for working.
Yeah.
So partly that's like, for instance, the harbor master. He had someone last year, but it's tight quarters.
Yeah.
So he actually said that, it was
right,
the working conditions were
Yeah.
a little bit hard, so, maybe again.
yeah,
Library a little bit the same way, but, they take two, so they do have two,
right.
just saying.
Yeah, we want people to know that it's available, and want people to step forward if they're interested.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm
honestly-
almost thinking like, what if we could generate like a list of ideas of things for people, like give
Yes.
something you could distribute to the other departments and other organizations about these are some examples of
Yeah.
things that they
Yeah,
can do.
and I have,
Yeah.
I have had some from Duxbury, for instance, and, a lot of their people are actually working with the senior center.
Yeah.
Cafe, that sort of thing,
Yeah.
that we can certainly look forward to, we
Yeah.
hope,
Right.
and that's the
Right.
plan,
Right.
because those are actually defined
Right.
jobs,
Right.
2 days a week, every day,
Right.
and you can place more than one person in it.
Right.
The administrative or the other
Yeah.
things, that usually is what's available.
Did they use anybody to give out the beach and stickers and the?
Yes, I did have that person, yes. Fire station on weekends, as well as the treasurer collector's office, and 2 people have been there.
Right.
It's good, good.
So
Yeah.
those are the sort of standard.
Yeah.
And frankly, the town clerk's office, she'd always take someone and she goes through them fairly quickly, but it's not an easy sale, that one, because it's 4 days a week.
Well, you feel.
For an hour.
You feel like you have to manage.
Basically
people.
distribute the mail, sort and distribute the mail.
Yeah.
So you're kind of really tied to it,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
not bad. And I have made a suggestion to her that might make it easier and use 2 people, so that's another one, actually, in addition to, the school needed somebody, and the Board of Selectmen's office needs another person, so they have had 2 already.
Good.
Yeah.
So, also we had our pickleball, intergenerational sort of tourney. It was great. It's the second one. So we do foresee that maybe we'll at least do 2 school year, which has been fun. I did get to, I did it. We had 12 people altogether, counting me, but it was, and way more students. So they had to pair one older person with two of the students, and then we still had to sort of rotate. But it was very fun, it was very nice. The health fair last week, some of you may have even attended, and it was really great. I was late because I had my memory training, so by the time I got there, I mean, the energy was great. They said that participation, we have recorded 68 because of people having filled out sort of the door prize ticket. But we know there were more people than what we captured, but still, so that's pretty good.
The yard sign for that, did anybody collect them? I pulled the one out. Oh, okay, I got one in my car.
Did you see the one, was that the one on Gannett or?
I saw.
The one on Gannett.
I almost did that myself, and it was raining and that. But thank you. So we have a few, but if, there may be some still around.
No, you can
I meant to
reuse
say
them,
that.
right?
Yes, we did reuse them
That's
from
great.
last year,
Yeah,
which was very good.
yeah.
Well, I'll mention today, you know, we had just a fabulous event, which Lisa arranged and organized, with a 12-person, well, sometimes 25-person, but a 12-person today for us ukulele group. And they couldn't have been better. They played for an hour. We actually thought maybe they wouldn't have played that long, but they did. And it was for Mother's Day, so it was a nice luncheon, which, again, we have a couple of volunteers really helping us out in the kitchen, which is amazing. And Lisa's usual decorations and things. So it was a really nice time for only 40 people because we had to cut it off because we had to fit the band. Because at first we thought, oh my gosh, if 25 are coming,
That fills the space.
we can't, use the table. So in the end, there was plenty of room and there were only 12 of them, but still. So that's why we had capped it. Our last tech time, which I mentioned in the report, was Wednesday. And there were a good, 7 or 8 people and 5 or 6 students. But that's the last one until they come back after the summer. We give them that latitude. The seniors are going anyway, which is hard in June.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they'll be back
The
though.
seniors are going, seniors are,
Yeah.
they're going, mentally, they've checked
Right.
out.
I have
Weeks
one.
ago.
Have one. Yeah.
They're gone.
So I mentioned that right now I'm doing a 4-week memory training, but I have one more scheduled for June, so if anybody did want to take advantage of it, that would be your last chance. It's a 4-week, it will be on Mondays in June for the 4 Mondays. And I'm not seeking new funding yet. I want to see if MCOA takes it on and offers it through a grant, because it's a $1,500 renewal fee for the license, and at this point, I'm not going to try to do that. I don't have the funding anyway, and let's just see, because they're in the works. They're doing some speaking with UCLA's Longevity Center, so I think probably it will happen. We did it, Duxbury did it, so it's a good model so far. So we'll see.
Sign up with you?
Me or,
Sign-
yeah,
Okay.
it's been fun, it's been fun. And if somebody likes it and wanted to become sort of a volunteer facilitator, that could happen with the next round, because I don't have to be the only one, and you do too, actually, we can share, or more. So, volunteer luncheon's being planned for June, if you want to watch out for that invitation. We're sort of still settling on the date and the location, so it's not something we normally put in the newsletter, because it's by invitation for people who've worked for us as a volunteer, really at least 20 hours. And that would include all of you. Also, something that is in the newsletter, but it's not giant, so we are going to offer all exercise classes for free in June. And partly I can do that because there is some money in the formula grant that was set aside for some. And I didn't really get to reducing the amount that one of the classes was being charged, and really, why not all of them? So I can pay the instructors a set fee for June, acceptable set fee, and then, it's mostly a little bit as a gift, really, for the people who do participate and have been, paying. But obviously, it could work to appeal to some people who might want to try something, yoga or balance, and don't have to pay. And then keep coming after that, I hope. So I thought, July 4th luncheon, July 2nd. Oh, June 4th men's breakfast is really for everyone, so ladies invited. If you read the newsletter, you might have seen this. So I'm really thrilled that Dick Flavin, who most of you will have remembered, is the poet laureate still for the Red Sox. And they had offered to have him come, but then get back to me and said, well, we'd like to see if an alum would come too. what would the format be and whatever. Of course, it's Jim Longboard. So, good. So everybody would love to come and see him. So it'll be a good hour and a half program with the two of them. So it'll be here because Maureen wanted to make waffles. So instead of Widow's Walk, you know, where they pay $8 here, we can put it on for 3 or 4. Now before okay, so I can launch into some of the scene, before I forget. And I didn't put it in my report, but I am in May submitting a grant to Social Elder Services. It's a Title III grant and it only comes up every few years. But I'm doing it for the Aging Mastery Program because we are unfunded at this point for it. And so it is difficult. It's an expensive program to buy the materials for, number one, and then we put on the breakfast every week. So that is my hope. And they wanted to consider evidence-based programs. Now, Aging Mastery is now newly designated as an evidence-based program. But so I do hope they'll consider that. So I forgot to put that in there.
Good.
And then in terms of the senior center stuff, most of you know what's going on. Some of you were there last night at our last public information session with the traffic consultant, which personally I think was an asset, for sure. She was wonderful in her presentation and her description of the process. A lot of food for thought, and it was, I say, successful at sort of separating what might be considered as part of the project and has been, and what really is outside the scope, but could be considered down the road by the town, which, you know, I've had a talk with DPW, Kevin Cafferty. We will be at hopefully the next traffic commission meeting. I mean, it's just something either they will get added to their list, or they'll bump back to us and ask us to see if we can't get it into the scope of the project, if it's something small enough. But that remains to be seen with the construction, you know, after the construction is begun. Of note anyway, you know, more, this is unofficial as yet, but the town of Scituate, the town administrator's office and the finance director decided they put together a 12-page handout for town meeting, which I think is great, because we were lacking sort of a visual in the facilities there for doing even something electronic, or just not really that valuable. We did do some boards, so you've seen the big one of the sort of campus. We'll put that in the lobby. And at each door, we were going to have the one that shows the site plan from above, so to speak, and then a couple of other pictures of the entrance to the senior center proposed and the interior of the lobby as you walk in. So it's something visual for each of the doors.
So
You can certainly look at it.
Town is producing this.
Yeah.
800 of them?
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they have
Great.
stuff, but
That's great.
it is. They just needed to identify a couple of things to me in terms of parking spaces and whatnot. And then on a similar note, the Recreation Commission had a meeting last night, and so they officially voted to approve of the project for us, and they're writing a letter, which I decided to just address it to the COA board, and then we'll pass it on to the Board of Selectmen if it matters, and if he wants to say it on Monday night, you know, along with, you know, we had the Commission on Disabilities before. Historical Society, which really is sort of outside the need, but they've been on board, and especially after what happened with the well, and the response was swift, and, you know, it was a detail that had been overlooked, I guess, by those who didn't understand what it might mean to the Historical Society who wasn't there, you know what I mean? So the architect himself really kind of knew, so he took the hit on that one, but, you know, responded immediately with a turnaround to shift the parking lot, which initially they said they didn't think could be done without an expense of a retaining wall, but in fact the landscape architect could figure that out. So that's why.
You guys following all this? Okay.
So that, yeah, I mean, that's something that people might have read about, so I'm mentioning that. Otherwise, you know, Nancy Holt, the finance director, had presented to the Board of Selectmen on April 23rd the structure of the funding, if we receive it for the debt exclusion, and how it would impact the taxpayers and the average homeowner value and everything, and she did a super job. That was presented to them, and then the next night it was presented to the advisory committee. And I went to both of those meetings, just to, in case. And the advisory committee was great. Two of the committee had met with me prior to that here, just to ask some questions and to, be a little bit more broadly informed about some of the data that they could use. But anyway, they presented them to the committee pros and cons as they saw them, and they were discussed, and they did take some input from the audience. And then they voted 6-1 in favor. And now I will say that I did read their report,
Yeah.
which is available at the town clerk's office, but will be handed out at town meeting, and it was
It's
really well synthesized,
Yep.
so well done and
Yeah,
presented
I
and
should have brought mine.
and said. So, very nice, and I did already send a thank you email to Jerry Kelly, because he sort of coordinated that effort. I think Lincoln, the chair, will be presenting for them. So John Danahy's presenting for the Board of Selectmen. He gets 15 minutes, everybody else gets 5. So JD will present for the Council on Aging Board, and I will just be available for questions if they come up for me. I thought that was the best approach, really. As long as
And
he
when
doesn't-
did Nancy Holt finalize all of that?
So it's now on the website, pardon me, because I did say that last night, but then I think it got drowned out. I wasn't sure because I hadn't actually spoken to her again, whether, I knew it was on the website. I just didn't know if I should give out a handout. So I was glad I was able to say, and that John was there with the actual information, but it is on the community campus tab on the website, 2 different document links, which not only explain the override that exclusion override very well, and then not only talk about the average taxpayer impact, but then there's a chart that you can find your own, closest to your own home value, and see what your particular impact would be. So it's very well done. So I thank her for that. We met with the planning sort of department and a couple of other department heads and 2 of the planning board members preliminarily in April, and then went before the planning board as an informal discussion before the official planning board meeting, which is not until June. So partially because their schedule is so heavy, and partially because they just sort of feel, well, we're not going to do too much until we know if it's approved. So some people question why that was the case, but really they sort of put us there. Some of them, when we did meet, or one in particular, was unhappy that we hadn't been there earlier. And honestly, I was a little bit at a loss, like, well,
And
we
some,
came
and
sort
some
of.
didn't understand what we were even there for.
Right,
So,
so we sort of have been guided through the process, whether by PBC or, we couldn't really go sooner once the alteration occurred. So I assume, and said, we would have been there before that, we were ready, right, in January, and then had to take more time. So, we're on track now, but there are still obviously a lot of people to meet with, as has been mentioned, but we're on course, and it just means some of it, the time isn't being taken before the vote and is waiting until after, and there's no problem with that. As far as they're concerned, they don't mind it that way. Capital planning, just so you know, was split 3-3, and the chairperson for that committee will say that in under 2 minutes, he said. So people will know that it wasn't a complete loss, but it was. And we do have vans available, and really only a few people so far taking advantage of the ride to town meeting and or the town election on Saturday. And I think a fair number of people are voting early, as Henry told me
They
yesterday. They can, it's absentee voting,
Go and
but
vote.
it's
Yeah.
fine. But anyway, so if anyone still does know someone who might need a ride or want to, we announced it again today, and even for the evening for the town meeting, I mean, it's night driving. It's
Yeah.
fine, even if you normally would drive, why not take the ride? So certainly someone can just let us know about that. So that's my report, really.
So your message, the robocall,
The robocall that I
Date?
actually did not get to yet, and we'll do
Okay.
in the morning. Once I didn't get to it for last night,
Mhm.
and
Could
then
do it today.
I couldn't do it today. So tomorrow, for Monday, and for next week, I will do it. It's at the top of my
But-
pile on my desk.
but they don't have to wait till the 18th to get a ride to go to book. They can get a ride anytime. So that's what I'm saying.
Oh, for early?
Well, that is a good point to make, and I will make that note. Henry, good point. I could say that, if you'd rather. Good point, thanks. I will say that.
Yeah, because Sandy, you volunteer to drive some people as well, right?
I can drive somebody.
Yeah. So during the week, we can drive people.
Go early.
It may be a little easier, I guess, to just have them use the town clerk's office. for
Yeah.
that, Sure.
Great.
All right, thanks for that. Okay. So otherwise, you also have reports from Kathy regarding transportation, which, not a whole lot actually, there wasn't a lot to report outside of just the regular ridership for her, which I guess is a good month. And the numbers are relatively close for both March and April, and nothing stands out. And again, I will very briefly mention that, hearkening back to the policy note I was making earlier, we had an issue with one rider, so placed a restriction on one day in deference to one of our drivers. And it was a difficult situation, but, sometimes I think if our driver has a problem with someone's conduct, then it's up to us to sort of protect them. We're not there all the time, and he's a good driver, and they're well-trained, and they're, doing a good thing for us. Don't want to lose them. So that's what I did. Now, in the end, things change so quickly anyway, days change, so it may not have become an issue, but I sort of did have to do that. And it went up the chain, believe me.
Of course.
Penalizing them to not take
Yes.
use of riding
For one day, but that went up the chain to other offices after, so you could hear about it. Yeah, well,
There are
it's,
crazy people.
it's best if you can just address it through, these are the guidelines, and this is our policy, and that's easily done. But when it becomes a back and forth and an argument, it's hard. But, sometimes there's no accounting for certain perspectives, I guess. In the end, it's gonna be fine, it will be fine. And we are accommodating this person as well. So I was not taking it away, it's just restricted. And for outreach, so I know you had Jenny live and in person last month. So she happened to tell me she was really explaining a little bit of how she records these services, which honestly is complex in a way. So even, it's just funny what a coincidence it was that she met with 32 people, but the same number applies to two different things here. So, and of course I didn't print out my notes. So the idea that for those 32 people, she engaged with them for 64 different potentially categories of service. And that also is reflected in the number of interactions that required her to perform, whether, phone call or interviews or just referrals or however she does track her incremental activities. Do you know what I mean? So 64 is just a coincidental number there.
Which happens to be double 30.
Right.
Double 32. Well, and who's, right,
A lot of coincidences.
that is fine. But otherwise, she's behind the scenes always looking for assistance where it isn't found always in the obvious places, so she's done a little bit of that work, she tells me. Also, with the 50-plus job seekers networking group, the numbers have been very good, and it just completed on Wednesday, the 8th, for the round. So we really had a year's grant in two separate sort of semesters, so to speak, an 8-week and a 7-week, I think. Some were out of town, but some were in town, and actually the reason I asked Jenny to coordinate was to see if that could increase some outreach, and in fact it has. So some people, especially those who are out of work, really realized maybe they could talk to her and take advantage, and she could inform them of some benefits that perhaps they could take advantage of. So it worked both ways. I think she was a good person to be there, and if we do get the grant again, and I will apply this summer, if we do get it again. She could do it, or then I talked about it maybe being an opportunity for a tax work-off person as well, who maybe gets a little training through her, or maybe she's there partially, but then the other person stays there. Because it was a long day, every 2 weeks, for her to be out of the office too. So that is that for her, and that was it. So Lisa gets a pass, I guess. I don't have a report from her, but she did the Mother's Day lunch today, so it was great. And the health fair.
Right.
So, Lisa.
Very good. Anybody have any questions immediately? Okay. Well, we wanted to spend a little time, and I'm not sure where to go, but on upcoming special town meeting. We don't have any liaison reports, so we can just sort of defer to.
Well, Karen might like it. You should
Yeah,
see
if-
Karen unless traffic is crazy.
Right.
But, my thought had been, and I sort of already said, now, John's introducing, I don't really know the full scope of what he might be saying. Maybe Karen can share some if they discussed it at all at the Board of Selectmen meeting. But he is going to go back through a little history as well, and he did tell me he wanted a little data or information from me, which I haven't given him yet, so hopefully that would be tomorrow. And then, any.
I mean, I'm not sure where I'm gonna fill in, but I'll talk to him
And my feeling for JD
either
had been.
Sunday or Monday, I guess.
The perspective of the board, and why, or the fact that we are very, behind the project, or you as a group, and being able to reflect on that a little bit, and why. And then just wondering if anyone, in fact, planned on maybe going up to the microphone with a statement that maybe was pre-prepared. Because I do think that's fair and reasonable to do. It never dawned on me until you asked
Right.
that there would be some question.
Yeah.
So,
I was wondering, JD, is it worthwhile mentioning how the board worked with the Board of Selectmen in terms of deciding on just to highlight that piece of it? Because I think that, between the site selection as well as the adjustment that was made in February, the fact that this has been a collaborative thing, and that the board, 'cause I think that there's a perception out there that
For a
we
campus
got
community,
sidelined.
how about that for you?
for a community campus.
But I think to address that.
But
would
at
be-
this point.
Yeah, without getting mired in it, because I, tried to address it in the public information sessions,
Yes.
but even then, it was, it felt lengthy, it felt in a way too much, but I don't know if it was.
Yeah, I don't think it
Still.
needs to be very much, other than to just highlight that it was a collaborative, sort of evolving
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Are you gonna be there?
Well,
Yeah.
I think you're a great person because of your,
Yeah.
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 what your work is.
Yeah, yes, I will,
So I know in the past Gordon has got up to the microphone and
Yeah.
said,
yeah,
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
planned,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
both planned to talk.
yeah.
well, he's not on the board now, the question
Oh,
just
no, oh, yes,
is
sorry, just for the
of
board,
that, but
sorry.
he said as a resident, tell him to speak. I don't know that we have to say that, but
Okay.
maybe because of what someone said to you, elsewhere.
Yeah.
Do you think it needs to be, I am on the board, but I am also
Yeah,
this, and
I
I'm a
can see
resident of Scituate.
Mhm.
I don't know if we need to say that. I didn't see anybody in the past, have indicated their positions.
right.
We
Just
go up
address,
there as
name and
a,
address.
Name and address.
Yep.
I think
Right.
just what I saw, the perception is that you're hiding,
Yes.
keeping something secret.
Which is not the case.
Which is not,
No.
but I think, clearly seeing you being on the Board of
Yeah.
Council on Aging, it's not for your immediate use, it's looking at a long-term.
Well, I think, right,
benefit.
and I'm not a senior.
Exactly.
No,
I'll
that's
bring the
what she
baby
meant,
and
right?
I'll wear the thing, and so she can be at the microphone. No, but I will.
Yeah.
you can have sign, it says 50 years to 65.
Yeah, the year, whatever the year is, that she'll be 65.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
funny. That is funny.
55 is a senior.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, no, it's true.
Yeah.
Close enough, as we all are.
yeah.
So
I will,
anyway,
I'll
that
say
would be
something.
great.
So I will leave you with that to discuss if you wanted to see if Karen gets here for that.
Well, we want to, we anticipate it's going to be a town meeting like any other town meeting with an issue that some people are gonna wanna, oppose for any number of reasons. Some people are gonna wanna potentially oppose simply for the process of, we don't approve of the process that you've gone through to get to this point.
Right.
You think you need to stop or change or go back or, but we did have a meeting the other day, and it was very, with the moderator. And it was very,
Oh, yeah.
it was very clear, he made very clear that if the conversation on the floor goes off topic to, we want to, why can't we put, exactly, why can't we put this building back on the field behind next to the red schoolhouse?
Yeah.
Or
The library.
that if that conversation takes off and it's voted on, the vote would exclude our warrant.
True. On the property, he will
So-
not entertain anything off the property. He
Right.
will cut that off.
So his point to everyone was simply, if the topic is moving off, if the conversation is moving off topic, like we're here to discuss this,
Yeah.
he encouraged anyone to stand up and say,
Point
Mr.
of
Moderator,
order.
point of order, which is, we need to come back to the topic at hand.
And anyone
We're
can
not
do that.
spinning out into, well, because we don't have the traffic problems in town solved, that we can't vote on this, or because we don't have the water problem solved, we can't vote on this.
And you don't necessarily have to wait in line at the microphone to
We
say
need to
that.
stay on.
Oh, you don't have to wait.
No, you
No, it
shove
just
He
that
said if
on
he
the
could, if
floor.
he hears even a
Anybody say
echo of
point of
that.
order that brings us back to the discussion on the warrant, of the article that's on the warrant, that brings us back.
So there's no potential it could be somebody's trying to postpone it to September.
Somebody could,
We're gonna try probably.
yeah. So, we don't want to let that happen. I mean, just generally, anyone and everyone is welcome to get up and say your piece. We don't have I mean, we anticipate, again, you guys have all been to various town meetings. I mean, I anticipate some people are going to get up and say, I don't like the traffic pattern. Some people are going to come and say, I don't like the fact that we're putting brick on one side of the building and clapboard on the other side of the building. Some people are going to get up and say,
This was rushed.
right, it was rushed. Some people are going to get up and say, you don't have a plan for gates.
Right.
Certainly, some people are going to say that. Now, John Dennehy who's going to introduce this article, is going to, I think he's going to address that at length. Or he's going to address whatever he feels is necessary, because he's got a solid 15 minutes to go back and
To
cover
sort of
history, to go
expand
back
on
and
what I
cover.
talked about last
Look,
night.
you can't accuse the town of being without a plan, because this is part of the plan. This was one of the component parts of the plan that was put together a few years ago, which was build a senior center. So he's gonna review that. All I can tell you is, he and I were gonna maybe converse, probably not until Monday morning, which is kind of getting to the deadline, but, and if there's something for me to get up and fill in for a few minutes, whether it's simply to say, look, this has been a collaborative project, this has been vetted, this was part of a plan, the Council on Aging Board is unanimously in favor of this, as are other boards in town. I mean, I haven't prepared anything necessarily, but I'm waiting to sort of hear what he's thinking of saying, and then, and maybe I won't, maybe he'll say, look, JD, I'm good, I'm gonna let it rip, and then we'll go into advisory planning, and we'll open it up on the floor, or, so I'm sort of waiting to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I think
play
it'd
out
be
there.
helpful to note the timeframe, just the timeline from when we've started working. And there have been some changes, but there have been, really, responding to people,
Yeah.
townspeople's,
Mhm.
concerns.
That was part of my point when I.
Yeah,
Right.
yes.
that.
It's
yeah.
not been,
Yeah,
you
we're
know,
not ignoring
dramatic
it.
Yeah,
changes.
this is not just us forcing something here.
Right.
I do think, I don't know who would be the person to say it, but this idea that there has been letters of support from other boards.
Yep,
Somebody, I don't know if it's you or if it's whoever, but that I think should
I
be.
think that helps.
It helps. I mean, it sounds, I mean, I think it's very important, so I just would
Right.
figure out who's gonna say that, and if no one has said.
Right, and if I don't have a copy, I'll just at least name.
Yeah, I don't think you
boards.
need to have the letters in
But
front of
we've
you,
got-
but to say that this was a collaborative effort between the COA and the BOS. In addition, we have support from REC, Historical Society,
Right,
disabilities.
yep.
I mean, those are all, that I think also just highlights that we have done our homework and that we have, this is,
We've covered.
Yeah.
We've
Do you
we've
know-
included everyone.
yeah.
Has anybody
Because I-
asked Maura to get and just make copies?
No, but
As
sh-
Gordon did it last time. they
I mean,
did
I have not, but I believe they've
Oh,
issued
yeah.
that letter, or they're issuing a letter, but whether
I know
Maura's
the
gonna get.
meeting that we went to, Gordon and Linda and I went to that rec meeting and said that we would,
Support them.
and they
Mhm.
said as soon as they got their field project,
Mhm.
they would work towards supporting that
Mhm.
efforts.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think maybe somebody asked, I don't know.
Well, you're right, I mean, we need to remember that this is a project that encompasses.
Yeah,
Like
we met
it's-
the veterans guy, Agent, is that,
I mean, I haven't talked to him about,
yeah.
yeah, we haven't talked to him,
Okay,
at least I haven't talked to him.
okay.
But yeah, it covers a lot of people in town.
Mhm.
So you're all welcome to get up and say your piece if you'd like. You know, it's probably gonna be a back and forth for a while, is my anticipation. There'll maybe be people who will get up and get us jump-started, or maybe the opposition will get up and try to move things along in some way, shape, or form. My feeling is no one really is getting up to say, we don't want a senior center.
Right.
Oh.
I mean, there may be some, but most, but it's the tweak there. It's, we don't want it here,
They
we don't want to
serve
pay
it.
for it,
There's
we don't
definitely a
want,
group.
but it's,
definitely
There's a group that
Yeah.
doesn't want it at all.
Doesn't see the need for it.
Under
in
any
the school,
circumstance.
you know,
Right.
side of the road. I think it's a frivolous.
right. Well, yeah, so there are some, but my anticipation is going to be more along the lines of process and more along the lines of,
Not sure those people will be there. I
So.
agree.
so I think there will be a group headed by, the campaign committee. They'll be, again, greeting people outside. They're not allowed to do anything in the building. So they'll be, pushing outside. As soon as you walk in the building, as Linda said, we'll have boards and obviously the handout from town. We also anticipate that it won't be a verbal vote, it will be a hand vote, so you have to register when you come into the meeting and get your
And
card,
you get your card.
Yeah.
so that you can vote, because it won't be a yea or a nay verbally, it'll be a count.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait to go.
The handouts from the town, are people gonna be handing those out, the documents that Linda just shared?
I'm here for a report from Gordon.
Okay,
That's why I'm here.
okay.
Okay.
I haven't, that was the first time I had seen
Yeah,
that.
we
Right.
don't know, we just found out about
I'm
that.
not sure if it's
I
gonna
guess
be
I
when
should
you
rephrase
sign
it
in
and
and
say,
get your voting card, you get one of
We should make sure there's
those.
enough to
Yeah.
hand out.
Right, or it'll be,
And
they'll
we
be,
as a
on-
board can volunteer to do that.
or they'll be on a display table as you walk in, and you can pick one up. I'm not sure
Okay.
Yeah.
where
It gets
that.
crowded,
You're talking
it gets
about
crowded
these?
and people.
Yeah.
No.
The
No.
color.
No,
Talking
the
about
town
the-
is doing
The
something.
presentation that Linda just had, one single copy of just now,
Yeah.
so.
need to hand it out.
I think we should maybe have both. I just think that it's, it'd be good. to-
I mean, it'll either be, or both, it'll either be
Both, right.
on a table that you can pick up
Hopefully
as you
it's
walk
with the
in,
ticket, hopefully it's
or with the
you know,
ticket.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
That would be.
Well, let's just make sure we have enough copies
Yeah.
made and we're,
Yeah.
How was it the last time? It wasn't when you signed in to get.
No, it was on a table as you walked in,
Right,
into,
right.
in the foyer, into the
Yeah.
gyms proper. So Sandy, what might be other details?
Okay, well, this is from Gordon, and this
You
is,
want to come up
okay.
here?
This is from Gordon and what the group has been doing, because I only came home last Tuesday. So, the group and people have gone to the Chamber of Commerce Board meeting on 4/9, Cushing School, PTO and Council on 4/10, the landfill and giving out information on 4/13.
I heard the landfill was a good,
They got a lot
Well
of
received.
positive,
Yeah.
yes, but there was a couple of
I heard that too,
negative
yes.
people from that town.
right?
Rotary trivia on 4/13.
Yep.
They did discussion with 2 advisory board members on 4/16. Hadley School PTO and Council on 4/24. The Advisory Committee on 4/24. Capital Planning on 4/29. They went to the Greenbush and North Scituate train stations early in the morning on 5/1 and gave out information to people, you
Yeah, I
know,
thought that was a
that
good idea.
were traveling.
Saw that.
Yeah, they found most of the people in North Scituate, they were, lots of people. People in Greenbush were really Norwell and Marshfield. They did the health
Okay.
fair.
Oh, in
Yeah,
terms
so,
of
yeah.
the traffic that
Giving
goes to
out-
those
Giving out
stations.
information, because they always asked if you were a Scituate resident. The health fair on 5/2, they started putting posters in merchants in the harbor and North Scituate on 5/6. Started the phone-a-thon. We're trying to call everybody in town to go to both the Monday, the 13th,
And vote.
and vote, the 18th and vote, and also telling them that they can go up to the town hall now and vote.
Yeah.
We went to Pizza Palooza on 5/7. They went to the Design Review Committee on 5/7. They went to the moderator meeting on 5/8. Went to a public information session on 5/8. Oh, that's me. The phone-a-thon is again tonight at the Congo Church. And they were sending out letters to all the Meals on Wheels people. Tomorrow it's going out with those people. We are also starting, let me check my notes. We're going to be standing at Greenbush, the Town Hall in North Scituate, starting tomorrow on the 10th, then Monday on the 13th, then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 6:30 in the morning till 8 a.m. to have banners and wave to people and the signs. We're at the Village Marketplace and the landfill this Saturday also. So that's basically everything.
That's terrific.
That's a lot.
We, you know,
Well,
that's,
my wife and I, we walk Indian Trail, we hand out about 50 brochures.
Well, it seems like,
Good for
do you
you.
have an extra one of those I can put in front of the window?
sure, yeah. You take that. And you know everybody got it in the
Oh,
mail.
I have some if you want.
Yeah. And you know everybody got the 3-page, like, flyer in the mail.
Trifold thing.
Trifold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that went out too.
No.
No.
2 days ago.
If you
Should've
want
gotten
it,
it 2 days
I have it in
ago.
the car, I can bring it from there.
I got mine last week.
Well, you can take a look.
Votes
so-
already.
Well, it
Yeah.
seemed like you
No,
people
other
do a lot of
people.
There
work.
was a
Yeah.
mailer that went out to,
Yes.
I believe, a resident mailer that went to every,
Yeah.
every
Yeah,
home.
2 days ago.
It could be, you know,
I look at what I want in the
Yeah.
mail and pitch everything else.
Yeah.
the train thing must be,
It's like not
Very
answering the
good.
phone.
I
It
saw
was-
a
it
note
was
that maybe
a-
they need more people
It was
to do
good because
stand
it
out.
covered numbers.
So, yes, so that's what we're looking to see if anybody here can help, especially early in the morning, 6:30 to 8. Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we need more people at the town hall. I don't know, Gordon and Lou, I thought they were gonna do Greenbush every day, but she only put them on one day, so we need people for Greenbush also. Henry and Elaine are doing Scituate every day.
hello.
Welcome.
And in conclusion?
No.
Sorry,
and,
you're so late.
But that's, I think, let me see.
We're
I
sort of
think
just
the-
reviewing for
The
Karen's-
game plan?
Well,
Yeah.
we're sort of in
That
that
we've been doing,
conversation,
yes.
but what the campaign committee's been doing.
Going to the landfill and village market. You know, the landfill from 10:30 to 1 on Saturday could use another person. There's 2 people. But if you've ever done this before, you know that 2 or 3 cars will stop in a row if you're, you know, asking for a
Anyone.
donation. And so you sort of need, you can really use 4 people there because it
You don't
ends
want to
up.
stop the traffic, that just gets
And we
people
also give
aggravated.
out dog bones to people, so everybody that brings their dog, give them a bone. And then if you know somebody, they start asking you questions about whatever you're standing there for too. So, but really, like I said, standing in the morning, 8:30,
No, but the
6:30, 6:30 to 8, we could use some help. Okay?
Okay, awesome.
Well, it seems like everything, all bases are covered. You know,
I know.
Doing well.
The only school we didn't get to was Jenkins, and we went there twice. And, I don't know, they said they were having a meeting, and then we get there, and they said they weren't, and so I don't know, we just didn't get to Jenkins. But we went twice. So,
Terrific. Thank you for all the help and effort and time and blood, sweat, and tears. And
Well-
maybe more blood than anything else.
I don't know.
I don't know, I'm pretty optimistic. You know, the group that was yesterday there, the majority of them were for it, you know, there were
think.
just a few, we always
Well,
expect.
Yeah, last night, the open public session.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the problem is, from what I've heard, is people feel, from anybody who goes on Facebook, they don't understand. Is there a plan, is there not a plan?
Right.
And that's why some people came last night. I heard, somebody said Mark Brady is a typical person. He said there's been so much online, he came last night to find out, was there a plan or wasn't there a plan? And so,
complete misinformation.
you know, and I think that it's unbelievable when people
think
say
it's-
they don't know anything about this.
I think it's our time, they're gonna pass it.
Right.
Well,
I'm with you,
I
Helen.
mean, to your point, we've been through a lot of these, and what really matters is getting
The
people
people.
informed and getting the people to come and vote.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And your efforts have been, you know, really good. I mean, if somebody isn't gonna come to town meeting, they're not gonna come to town meeting, that's, you know, and there's nothing you can do about that. But if you've encouraged people to be informed, which I think, social media nonsense aside, I heard it went well last night, I had.
Yes, it went very well.
Right, and anybody that took the trouble, that came and got informed and were positively influenced, they're gonna turn up to vote. And that'll be good. And you'll know within 4 speakers where things are gonna go.
In town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I also think you were there at the end when Lou Chin stood up and said,
Yes.
there was a master plan in 2014, and he asked everybody there, you know, what they were, and it was the safety building,
Yeah,
the
that
school,
was very
Yeah, what
the
were the four, what were the
library.
4 things?
That
Yeah,
was
he
very
asked everybody what
effective.
the 4 things were, and the senior center. And so for people to say there was no plan, there's been a plan that these things need to be done since 2014, really, since,
Well,
long before that,
Right.
but 2014, that was the capital plan. So this is the end of that capital plan, and the next one will have Gates involved in it, Gates Schools.
Who's presenting on behalf of the Council on Aging on Monday? Has that been decided?
I'm waiting to connect with John.
Okay,
John's gonna present,
okay.
and whatever, if there's, I mean, I'm gonna talk to him on Monday.
But I
We're
still
not
think
gonna
you
have-
should.
We're not gonna have the architect present on it.
We're not.
Okay, I think that's
He's
fine.
gonna be there,
Right,
but he's not,
Okay.
he's not gonna make a presentation. We couldn't pull it off visually to be able to
Yeah.
get to everybody and have them see what's going on, so.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have a
that's a
handout
good
that
one,
we,
right.
a handout with the visuals that Linda took with her, but that'll be helpful.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that-
then I'm
that-
gonna say something as a resident, you know, board member.
Yeah, you'll
other
have your
thing-
speakers lined up and everything?
Well, we
When
don't
I
have
say
any,
you'll know in 4 speakers, because it doesn't matter what somebody says, you'll know what the reaction is,
Right.
you know? So if somebody gets up and says, "Look, no, there's no plan, there's no this,"
Yeah.
and everyone goes.
Right.
Yeah, I think, really, I think you need to speak, but a lot of people too don't know about the gym. They were surprised about the gym.
Right.
Because a lot of it's been centered around the senior center, and they don't
Yeah.
know the
I think we should
updates to
ask Maura.
the gym.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, she'll be there for sure.
But even just
But
like
I
really
just
quickly, it
need to
doesn't have to be
even if it's
anything
brief.
lengthy, just that she supports
That she supports this.
Oh, okay. Shay, do you want to reach out to her, or, I'm happy to do it if you do the right thing.
Okay.
It's not her favorite thing to do.
I know that, but when we went to a meeting and gave her our support, and Gordon got up and she said that as soon as the field project was done, she would be, they would be, giving support to this project.
Yeah.
So even if.
Well,
it's
she
like-
does, I mean,
Yeah,
it's just.
yeah.
I'm just asking, she didn't say no.
Yeah.
It's good to ask.
No, she'll be, I'm sure she'll be happy to do it. It's just a question of, do you want her to stand up and speak, or do you want, you know,
Right,
someone
something,
to say
we have a letter of
support?
support from.
Well,
the
that's
rec-
true.
Yeah,
I think, because we do have support from several, disabilities
Yeah.
historical commissions, and I think it's important to note that somehow.
yep.
That we have that support.
Yeah.
Covers a lot of-
Do you want to relay that to John, because that's a really good point, or do you want me to? Just,
Why don't we both?
okay, yeah.
Well, I think he did pretty good last night, because he took the hit on, we were the ones that decided not to do anything about gates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people wanted to know
That
that.
is a
And
question
so
I get a lot.
that was good that he, I feel it was good he said that, because that's what a lot of people I could hear saying, what about gates, what about gates,
Yeah.
And I'm prepared for that, because I was one of the ones
Yeah.
that spoke on the dissent at the time, at the meeting that we had here. And so I actually gave that a lot of thought of how I would answer that, so, and I'm gonna be voting in support of it, so I'm prepared if somebody asks that question. Because sometimes that happens, they say, could we hear from the person that said no?
Yes,
Mhm,
yes,
mhm.
yeah.
And I don't know, I forget who the dissenting council on aging were, but somebody should be prepared just to have that. I don't think we'll have to, but it's a good idea to be prepared.
Yeah.
That's true. That was not, I think earlier somebody said it was unanimous. It wasn't.
No.
It was
We
unanimous.
voted in support,
Once
but it was, right.
Yeah, so we took the vote, and then, I forget when later, maybe it was during the warrant or something, I guess it was, that's what it was, when we were setting up the warrant for the meeting, we unanimously supported putting it on the warrant. So we debated and had disagreement over the
How it should be
original
done.
decision, but once it was made, we all were, we're all in support of what's put forward now.
Right.
Because that's a democratic process, we're not always gonna agree, but we support the majority's decision, because that's how the process works.
Well,
I know. Hey, I'll
yeah, so we were just, we're sort of open brainstorming. Do you have anything specific from BOS on any of this? Probably not.
No, I mean,
We met yesterday with
the town,
Yeah.
did you go to the
the
moderator's?
moderators meeting, and then we had our last open public session last night.
Right, and John was there, and I.
Yep.
yeah. No,
And
I mean,
John's working on what he wants to say.
Yeah.
He's talking about, well, I don't know what he's talking about, but he's gonna try to lay it out from his history of what's happened,
Right.
10 years
No
ago,
better
5 years
advocate on the
ago,
board
and
than
now.
John for this,
Yeah.
because he's been, in the 12 years he's been on the board, this has been something he wanted to get done.
Right.
He was very passionate about it, so.
Right.
No, I mean, all we talked about last night, or last board meeting, Tuesday night, was, what day was today?
Thursday.
Yeah.
Was who would present, and our role there is to support him. So.
Is the town administrator with the meeting?
Oh, yes, oh, yeah. I mean, it's an official town meeting, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they all have to be
everybody will
there,
be
yeah.
It just is, it just happens there's only one thing on the
Right.
warrant. Yeah, everyone will be there.
Is there any strategy or benefit to people going first in terms of speaking, trying to get out the gate and get started on a positive note? Is there a benefit to that, would you say? Anybody? I don't have.
I would say.
That's why I said you have your speakers.
That's what I'm saying, should we just be, to get people at the ready so that there's no.
Yes,
Sit in the
because you can
microphone.
guarantee that the others will be
Right.
jumping up.
Right.
I mean, especially since it's a one-topic
Yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
So I would I would seriously give thought about topics so that they're not redundant.
Yep.
You know, somebody talk about intergenerational, somebody
Yeah.
talk about, how long we've been waiting, and the net, all those things. John will lay out a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to
Um,
reinforce some of that.
But just if they're different points
Yep.
is better, because otherwise Ann will move the question when we're in the whole conversation.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
And I'm sure that those who are opposed will have,
Yeah.
everybody has a thing about it that they're gonna do the same.
Yep. So I know Gordon, I'm sure will, will speak. I'll speak. Is
Gordon
who-
is, and Lou is going to speak.
And Lou, and me, and who else? Anybody else here gonna say?
Do you
anything?
have a young parent?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, yeah, you're the young
I
parent.
was thinking bring the baby and strap her to my chest while I go.
Perfect, I love it. Yeah.
We can put the year that she'll turn 65 on her belly.
Poster baby.
Yeah. Right, yeah,
So
so,
at any town meeting, there was a lady with a baby.
I know.
yeah, I mean, she's gotta come, because
Yeah.
both my
Yeah.
husband and I are there, we don't have any help, so she'll be there.
Should be there. Make
Okay,
sure she
so
gets a
Lou-
voting card.
I'll try to sneak one in on her head or something.
No.
She said it's okay.
Yeah, that's why I think Caitlin's a
Yeah.
perfect person.
Yeah, because that's obviously different perspectives are
Mhm.
going to enforce the message.
Right. Okay. So maybe I'll get with them and just kind of make sure we're all talking about, I'm sure we will probably all talk about different things, but just to clarify.
To
that.
just,
So that we're not repeating each other and we're.
Right.
It makes for a much
Yeah.
stronger argument.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I'll do that.
And I would also emphasize what your,
Yes.
workroom was.
I will.
Have you?
I have a PhD in journalism.
Yes.
We will,
And I'm a young parent.
I want to put a
It's
little
kinda-
asterisk on my next sentence, and we don't need to talk about what's going to go on the asterisk, you don't know what exactly what I'm saying. But you might want to reach out to the other candidates for the open selectmen seats, because dollars to donuts, they're going to want to get their moment in the sun and have something to say, but if, I believe they have all been in support.
Yes.
But, it might be good to just say, hey, we're looking forward to having you there or something, and encourage, they're gonna speak anyway, you might as well
Make sure. it's-
kind of pick their brain ahead of time,
Okay.
see where they're, or ask, or you know
Give them
what,
some
call and see
fodder.
if there's anything you can do to help them with their comments.
Comment.
Because they're gonna go, and I think they're all, I think they've all publicly.
They've all
They've all publicly
publicly
supported it.
stated
At the
support.
forum, not they all
Yeah.
said they're for it, right,
Right.
So Goodrich, what's his name?
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin, oh, right, okay.
Mhm. Yeah, John may want to talk about just the accessibility issues.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Hopefully that we'll see that the tenor is definitely that there's not a long conversation, but I suspect we'll have conversation.
Yeah, well,
So
let's,
Karen, what is the plan for Gates? Is that
The
just
plan
take-
for Gates is after we have this vote and we have a path forward for the senior center, is to discuss it. I have some very strong feelings about it.
I mean, it'd be the next.
That would be the next
master plan.
Next
Yeah.
master plan.
Yeah, at the minimum,
Yeah.
it is absolutely a key integral part of the whole 10-year master plan. My feeling, this is mine personally, I will recommend to the next board, which will, after the election, hopefully I will not get lose to Mickey Mouse, but will be to go out with a request for interest to all, like, to everybody we can think of. That if, basically, if we gave you this building, what would you do with it? Because and just see, and that can inform part of our master plan as well.
And what's the next master plan process? Is that happening?
It started
No,
already,
yeah.
but it's 12 to 18-month process
Right.
because it's everything.
Right.
It's the master
It's
plan that,
yeah.
yeah.
the next version.
It's been 10 years since it's been, and it's
It'll be 10
a
years,
10-year
yeah.
plan, so.
I'd like it to be 55 and older. 2-bedroom, 2-condo.
Well, yeah, but I mean. how
That's
do
what
you
I
know?
would really
If
like,
somebody
but I
realizes
don't
that
think
there's a
it'll
deep
be.
market for that and wants to invest in that building,
Well,
have at it. I mean, that's completely my opinion on the subject. But I personally think it's reasonable or realistic to
Yeah,
go
I
out and
don't
say, yeah, we need $30 million to renovate this building. We
Right.
can't afford that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we need partners.
Right.
So, yeah, so the long answer is 10-year, the short answer is I don't think we should wait until
Mhm.
at least explore it
Okay.
before we get to the 10-year mark.
On the flip side, internally, or, I know food pantry would like to get some space in there. So there's an
Right,
option,
I mean, those are
potentially.
sort of the interim questions.
Yeah.
The macro question's really important, and I think for Monday night, it will certainly, I don't know how John's planning on answering it, but to me, there's no scenario in my mind where it would matter to putting this building where it is.
That's what he said last night.
Oh,
It's
okay.
got nothing to do with the Gates building,
Yeah,
has
right.
nothing to do with the senior center.
It does in that, it does because it.
Well, he
it is
said at this
campus.
point, right now.
But
It
whether the
doesn't.
building gets renovated and stays where it is, or whether it gets torn down,
Mm.
you're still gonna deal with the other, just like we're doing with senior center, you deal with the elements on the site. And there's no reason you can't go forward with this, because it's not like,
Nothing's gonna change that.
yeah, I mean, I think that. we
Real
can
estate
just-
is selling like crazy, so I can see medical kind of rentals in there, doctors,
Well, yeah, I don't know if a private,
podiatrists, no.
yeah, yeah.
I'm sure it'll probably have to be the town offices, because if they want the, the area where the town offices is for, stuff with the high school and the junior high,
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out.
probably.
I actually like your personal opinion, because anything town do with that building, first thing is gonna be, the traffic is gonna be even worse, right? People are already concerned about the traffic right now.
Yeah.
And whatever you're gonna do with that building, town hall and other activity goes in there. So, but go out to the
It's-
private,
I have to say, I find that whole traffic, I mean, the intersections are bad, we know that we gotta address that, we're fixing that, but it's like, it was a school.
I was
for
gonna say, it's been a school forever, I don't know what the traffic thing is, it's been a school forever.
Lines of people, yeah.
I know, so I just sort of.
And at one time, guess what? They had the high school and the junior high there. They had split sessions, and the high school, I think, went in the morning, and the junior high went in the afternoon. So, when they were building the high school, when I was in school.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
there's always been traffic there, and supposedly, less kids now than there was before. In those days, that was the 50s and the 60s and everything, and there was a lot more kids,
Yeah,
a lot more kids.
so, yeah, I'm not, I honestly, I mean, it was, my original preference is, let's just deal with it all at once now. But I don't think that I'm not concerned, really not that concerned. I'm more concerned that we find a partner so that we don't have to
Mhm.
spend,
Yep.
we can
Yep.
afford it.
Right.
Right.
So, and then the worst case in my mind is that we have to spend the money to tear it down because, for safety or
Yeah.
whatever reasons. And, that's a couple $1 million and, what was it, $3 million?
3 million.
3.1.
Yeah.
I said it last night.
And we got a
And that's
great
just
big
for asbestos and,
Or we're adding on to the senior center.
Yeah,
So, to me, the worst case isn't even
Well, we could
that
extend the
concerning.
senior center in 10 years,
Right.
use the whole building.
I know, but all the money we spent already on all those people that came in, looked at the building and everything,
Yeah.
said, you need to take the building down.
Yeah.
I mean, we spent, $425,000 for all these people to come in and look at the building. I love the building. I grew up in the neighborhood. I was not for it at first, but when I found out and went to all of those meetings, which I don't know if some of you went to, for 2 years, they said that the building, it costs way too much to
Right,
do it
well,
over. Way
Yeah,
too
the
much.
only way to retain it is to find somebody with deep pockets.
Yeah,
And that's fine, if we can, God bless them,
Right.
that'd be great. We could find the right fit for that space and
Right.
retain the building, but, so anyway. We'll get past that argument.
the building is not in good shape either.
Oh, gosh, no.
I'm sure that'll be brought up.
I think if anybody ever walked into that building or walked through it, they'd come out, they'd come out with a pretty,
When my kids were in it, I.
pretty unique opinion of this, why are we saving this thing?
Yeah.
I mean, I happened to hear from Steve Kirby last night, he said, there's a corner of that building that's just leaking like crazy.
Oh, there's more than a corner.
Yeah,
The whole wing of the building is leaking.
yeah. So he said, it's in a rainstorm, it's just
Right,
pouring.
and we know, it's $25 to $40 million to fix it. Not doing that. All right, anything else I can do to help? So you and I will talk with John about making sure he's got endorsements in his.
Well, we want to connect with Maura.
And then I would, yeah, and we will both talk to him.
Yeah, John and I talked, I mean, we're going to connect, probably not until Monday, we're going to connect on Monday.
That's-
You're gonna go for the telephones?
We want
No, my
to
wife's
put the
there.
B into Maura's bonnet to maybe just get up and, maybe she could just read their recommendation letter.
Yeah. Yeah, she'll be, I mean,
Doesn't
she'll
have
have
to
I'll give her a heads up.
Speak up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, in other words, we just need to make sure we're holding the point of order, stay on topic.
We've got two swan songs. We got moderator and John.
Yeah. And away we go.
Yeah,
So-
and I'll connect with Lou and Gordon about making sure we hit all the points in their
Mhm.
comments. And if anybody else decides they wanna speak, just let me know. We can work it out.
Awesome.
And I'll reach out to the candidates, I don't know
Like
any
we
of
did the
them,
last time?
but I'll see.
Well, sit together as a block,
Oh,
which maybe, although it'll be
Do you
in a different
want
building
me
next time.
to, I can talk with Karen and Andrew, because I know them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, what else? See John.
Oh, I was thinking the last town meeting, there was
Oh,
some.
yeah.
Right, I can talk
Yeah.
with John.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I,
Yeah, no,
okay.
that was the asterisk.
Yeah, I got you, I loud and clear got you. Okay, but I'll just reach out and offer.
Stay on the
them.
annotates.
Mhm.
Okay, so you want me to talk to Andrew and Karen?
Yeah, and just, you can, yeah,
Yeah, just say if you're preparing if you need additional information, that the Council on Aging's more than willing to help you,
yeah.
prepare your
You can
remarks.
give them any if you want.
And then what about John?
McLaughlin.
Okay,
I'm sure he would be happy to.
sure.
Oh, yeah.
Mention something about the disability angle of.
Yeah,
Yep,
Yep.
yep.
So-
I don't think
Yeah, he was at our last Frost meeting.
Okay,
Mhm.
good.
all right, so he's informed and he knows how to
He's
reach you
informed,
guys.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And you probably couldn't.
Yeah,
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 right.
got it.
well, I know we're sort of brainstorming, but maybe we should, let Seth get the heck out of here. So,
Yeah, Seth likes to hang out.
I love you guys. I love it, I love it. Do I hear a motion to close the meeting?
One more question for you.
Shoot.
Are you gonna talk about the growth of the usage of the senior center for the past 5-10 years? Like, why do we?
I certainly can, yeah,
Okay, I think,
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I think those steps need to
I'm
be-
sort of waiting John said, like, I'm gonna work on what I wanna say this weekend, and then I'll connect with you, JD, on Monday.
Okay.
So I'm sort of waiting to hear what,
Yeah.
And
Where
what
he's-
John
I
is.
would pull
Because I
what
can-
Linda presents, and maybe, whatever he doesn't hit on, you.
right,
Right, exactly.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, we made that mistake at the library meeting, is we didn't coordinate, and then we were redundant. And nobody wants to hear long
Yeah.
speeches that are
Right.
redundant.
although-
Are you gonna have a color? Everyone wear bright yellow t-shirt or something?
Oh.
It's hokey, but it shows a lot of support.
Hadn't gotten that far
I
yet.
mean, I'll do it.
well, we can wear the
Okay.
t-shirt.
It's white though,
Yeah.
it's not very loud.
Well,
Red
guys can
stands
all-
out the best.
What's that?
Red stands out the best.
Right, right.
Everybody wears something red. Red out? Let's
Have a
do
red
it.
out?
It's not my color.
It's not really.
Take it for the team, my red
Oh,
perfection.
Should the board all sit together?
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Up front.
Up front?
Well, you could all come
Or
in
near
red,
the
white, and
microphones.
blue. Red, white, and blue, so then you'd all sort of,
Well, I think red is a
Coordinate.
good.
Red is good.
you know,
Yeah.
That's important.
Spread the word, red. Okay.
Do I hear a motion to?
A motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor.
I mean, if anyone wants to keep on chit-chatting, fine.
No,
No,
yeah.
no.